There is a silence more powerful than 1,000 spoken words, and a sentence that, when spoken from the right place within you, can melt resistance like the sun melts ice on a mountaintop. Most people think it is the phrase itself that holds the power, but it is not. It is the soul behind the voice, the breath behind the intention, and the stillness behind the presence. Why do some words fall flat while others move mountains, shift hearts, and quiet storms within men until the very end? Because within this journey lies a hidden mirror, not to charm others, but to meet your own reflection more deeply than ever before. When you do, you'll find the words that no man can resist are not memorized. They are remembered. Remembered from a place inside you that you've only begun to awaken. There are words that pass through the air like smoke, brief, unnoticed, soon forgotten. And there are words that land with the weight of a falling leaf, touching the ground, softly yet leaving an echo in the soul. What makes the difference between the two is not the sound, not the grammar, not even the intent. It is the dull presence behind the word, the stillness from which it rises, the breath that carries it, the clarity from which it is born. In the first layer of understanding, one might think that to influence or move another heart, one must choose the perfect phrase. But this is an illusion, one that leads many to speak more, trying harder, reaching outward. And yet the secret lies not in the outward reaching, but in the inward return. When you are truly present, your words are no longer tools. They are expressions of being. They no longer seek approval. They share truth. Long ago, in a quiet monastery nestled among mountains wrapped in mist, a student approached the master and said, "Master, I have memorized many sutras. I have practiced eloquence. Yet when I speak, people do not listen. What more must I say?" The master, who had been tending a small bonsai tree, simply looked up and said, "Do not say more. Be more." He led the student to a pool at the edge of the garden. The surface was still, perfectly mirroring the sky. He picked up a small stone and gently dropped it into the center. The circles it created traveled far, wide and clear. Then he took another stone, this time throwing it while the wind stirred the water and birds flew above. The splash disappeared, barely noticed. "The same stone," he said. "But one is felt deeply, and the other vanishes. So it is with words. The more still your mind, the more your voice becomes like ripples in calm water. This is the first truth. To speak with power, you must not add more to yourself, but return to less: simplicity, stillness, presence. There is a quality that cannot be seen, only felt. When someone speaks from a place of deep inner presence, their words arrive with gravity. Not weight in heaviness, but in stillness. Even a soft yes or a simple "I understand" becomes memorable. Why? Because it is not filled with performance. It is not loaded with expectation. It is honest, grounded, full of breath and spirit. In daily life, you can sense this difference. Picture a busy cafe, a place buzzing with movement, sound, and scattered thoughts. Two people sit across from one another. One speaks rapidly, their energy scattered, trying to impress. The other listens silently, their gaze steady, their body relaxed, their breath slow. When they finally speak, it's not loud, but the whole table seems to shift. The speaker pauses. The noise around them fades. All attention leans inward. Why? Because stillness is rare. Because presence speaks louder than volume. The great Chan monk Hongji once wrote, "Once silent, the mind shines. When active, it flows. It is like a still pond reflecting the moon. Nothing is missing." To become this kind of presence, you must practice not what to say, but how to be. Sit with yourself. Feel the breath entering your body like wind entering a cave. Feel it exit slowly like a tide retreating from shore. Let the thoughts come and go. Let the restlessness settle. In this quiet, you find the source of real words, not rehearsed, not clever, true. Presence cannot be faked. It is the absence of pretending. So if you wish to speak in a way that cannot be ignored, begin not with language, but with stillness, not with performance, but with being. When your inner waters are calm, everything you say becomes clear. And from this stillness rises something else, something even more mysterious and deeply felt: magnetism. Where presence creates depth, stillness creates pull. The second truth is one of those quiet secrets hidden not in scriptures, in forests, in rivers, in the silent posture of the moon. Stillness has a gravity that no chaos can resist. It is not empty. It is full of peace, of self-trust, of clarity. And people, especially those unconsciously drowning in noise, are drawn to it without knowing why. There was once a Shaolin novice who asked, "How can I gain the attention of others?" The elder monk smiled and said, "You are like the wind shouting through the trees, loud, scattered, full of motion. You wonder why the deer do not come close." The monk took him into the forest and told him to sit, not speak, not move, just sit for 3 days. On the third day, a small fox came and curled beside his foot. Birds landed on a branch just above his shoulder. The wind, now soft, carried the smell of earth and pine. The elder whispered, "You see, stillness invites what chasing cannot." So it is in the world of human connection. The more still you are inside, not frozen, deeply rooted, the more you draw others near, especially those who seek calm without realizing it. Your stillness becomes their mirror. Your peace becomes their pause. Consider nature. A mountain does not move toward you, yet you move toward the mountain. You hike to reach its peak, to feel its silent presence. It offers nothing in words. It sells nothing, yet it humbles you. Why? Because its stillness is profound. Or the moon. It makes no sound, yet it governs tides, draws poets to windows, and stirs longing in hearts across time. Its influence comes not from noise, but from stillness. In a room full of noise, the person who is most calm becomes the axis around which others revolve. You will notice, even in moments of social unease, people gravitate toward the person who feels settled. It is not about appearance. It is not about charisma in the traditional sense. It is an energy felt through the nervous system, through the breath. From a personal growth perspective, this kind of magnetism comes not by learning how to gain attention, but by learning how to lose the need for it. When you no longer seek to be noticed, you are noticed. When you no longer strive to be heard, your silence begins to speak. When you stop trying to be understood, others begin to listen more carefully. This stillness, however, is not apathy. It is not detachment in the cold sense. It is engaged serenity. You are present, aware, soft in spirit, unmoved by the rush of approval or rejection. This makes your presence feel like a warm fire, not burning, glowing, a place others wish to be near. The ancient Korean Zen master Cheno said, "When the mind is like a mirror, all things are reflected in it. When it is still, all things return to peace." In this way, your presence becomes a mirror, not a performance. And in that mirror, others see themselves more clearly. This is why stillness is not passive. It is transformative. So when you speak, speak from the mountain, from the breath that has traveled through stillness. Let your words rise like mist at dawn, soft, sure, and grounded in something deeper than thought. A single sentence spoken from stillness can stir something in the heart that entire books cannot reach. A glance held in peace can say more than 1,000 clever phrases. And a silence shared in presence becomes the space where real connection begins. So pause now. Feel your breath. Feel the space behind your eyes, the length of your spine, the quiet rhythm within. Let this be the place from which your next word arises. And remember, It is not the words that make you magnetic. It is the presence. It is the stillness. Everything else is noise carried by the wind. There is a deep hunger in the human soul, not only to be seen, but to be known. In our desire to connect, many of us reach outward, dressing our words in ribbons, polishing our tone, adjusting our expressions like actors on a stage. We learn to please. We memorize phrases that sound right. We bend ourselves toward what we think will be accepted, welcomed, loved. But in doing so, we begin to forget the shape of our true voice. And what once was expression becomes performance. Yet there is another way. When we stop trying to be impressive and simply allow ourselves to be true, a shift occurs. The energy that once went outward, seeking validation, now returns inward. We begin to speak not to be admired, but to be aligned. Not to seduce, but to share. Not to prove, but to be. There was once a young woman in a remote village who visited a mountain temple seeking to learn the art of communication. "I want to speak in a way that makes others feel drawn to me," she told the master. The old monk said nothing. He simply handed her a bowl of ink, a blank scroll, and gestured for her to write. She dipped the brush and began to write beautiful characters. Days passed. She rewrote and rewrote, each version more refined, more symmetrical. At last, she presented her scroll. "This is perfect," she said. The master looked once and said, "No, dip your fingers into the ink and write again." She hesitated. "But it will be messy, uneven." "Exactly," he replied. "No, it will be yours." We are often so focused on appearing polished that we forget authenticity is where beauty truly lives. In authenticity, there is space for both grace and imperfection. There is room for depth, for rawness, for quiet truth. And it is this kind of truth that stirs others, not because it is perfect, but because it is real. When someone speaks from their center without embellishment or performance, they become transparent in the most powerful sense. Their words may be simple, but they carry the weight of lived experience. Their pauses feel intentional. Their gaze is steady, and others listen, not because of the volume, but because of the integrity behind every syllable. In everyday life, we encounter this truth in small, profound ways. Consider the difference between a rehearsed compliment and a genuine one. One feels like a leaf drifting on the surface. The other, like a stone drop deep into water. Or think of someone you know who speaks little, but when they do, it feels significant. Their words are not meant to entertain. They are meant to reveal. To be authentic, you must first be willing to sit with yourself, to hear your own voice without judgment, to meet the parts of you that are not polished, not clever, not curated for applause. And then, from this place of self-honesty, allow your words to rise. The Japanese Zen master Bankei once said, "Don't side with yourself. Don't side against yourself. Just be." It is from this state of being, uncluttered by agenda, that true expression flows. There is no script. There is only what is real in the moment. That reality might be stillness or softness or strength. And when spoken, it resonates, not because it follows a pattern, but because it follows truth. This does not mean saying everything that comes to mind. Authenticity is not impulsiveness. It is mindfulness without performance. It is choosing to speak from alignment rather than from fear, from clarity rather than from need. In the natural world, we see this reflected in the river. It does not pretend to be the sea. Flows in its own shape, through its own path, over its own stones. And because of this, it nourishes everything it touches. When you speak from your true voice, from that quiet place within, others feel safe to meet you with their own. And in that meeting, something sacred happens. A connection not built on performance, but on presence. So ask yourself softly, when I speak, am I reaching out to be chosen? Or am I resting in the truth that I have already chosen myself? If you have chosen yourself, if you have befriended your own silence, then your words need no decoration. Their authenticity will shine like a candle in the dark. Quiet, irresistible. As we continue walking inward along this path of awareness, we begin to notice another layer of truth, one that lives not just in what we say, but in how we say it, or perhaps more deeply, from where we say it. The breath, that ancient rhythm that connects body to spirit, is not just a vehicle for life, it is also a bridge for meaning. Your voice is not separate from your breath, it is your breath shaped into sound. And when the breath is shallow, hurried, or unconscious, the words that ride on it feel disconnected, rushed, or forced. When the breath is deep, conscious, and rooted, your words carry a different quality. Calm, clear, magnetic. Old Shaolin parable speaks of a monk known for his wisdom and peace. A curious boy asked him, "Why do people listen to you even when you say very little?" The monk smiled, motioned for the boy to sit, and handed him a bamboo flute. "Blow into it quickly," he said. The boy blew hard. The sound was sharp, uneven. Now the monk said, "Close your eyes, one deep breath, and let the sound rise from there." The boy did as instructed. This time the note was soft, full, resonant. The monk said, "That is the difference. The same flute, the same lips, but one comes from impatience, the other from presence. Your words are like this. To speak with breath is to speak with life. And to breathe fully is to allow yourself to be fully present. Before any important word leaves your lips, ask yourself, where is my breath? Am I speaking from my chest, where tension lives, or from my belly, where calm begins? In the natural world, the creatures that command respect often do so in stillness and breath. A lion breathes deeply before rising. A heron waits without flinching, its breath steady before taking flight. There is no urgency in these beings, no desperation to be noticed. Their breath carries their intent. And their presence, like your own when grounded in breath, speaks before words are even formed. In daily life, notice how someone who speaks from a calm, centered breath makes you feel. Perhaps it's the teacher who begins a lesson with a moment of silence, or the friend who pauses before answering, not out of hesitation, but out of care. These people move slower, not from laziness, but from awareness. Their breath guides their voice like wind guides a sailboat, not too fast, not too slow, but steady. This is not something that requires force, requires remembering that every word you speak rides upon your breath. And that breath, when honored, becomes sacred. Taoist philosopher Lai Tzu wrote, "He who speaks does so with his breath. If the breath is crooked, the speech is not clear. If the breath is still, the heart becomes straight and truth is possible." Let this be a daily practice before a conversation, for an apology, before a declaration. Pause, feel your breath, let it settle, then speak, not from the top of your voice, from the root of your being. The difference will be felt, not just by those who hear you, but by yourself. You will feel your voice as an extension of your soul, not just your mouth. You will notice the resonance in your chest, the softness in your gaze, the quiet confidence in your tone. Speaking from breath changes not only how others hear you, but how deeply you connect to what you say. So breathe. Speak not to fill silence, but to honor it. Let your words rise like mist from still waters, slow, soft, and full of presence. And in doing so, you will say more in one breath than others do in 1,000 voices. Let your authenticity be your offering. Let your breath be your guide. And let your voice, grounded in truth and carried by calm, become a path for yourself and for others. Back to what is real. You need not raise your volume to be heard. You only need to return to the breath that carries your truth. To speak is not always to be heard. To be heard is not always to be understood. The path of expression is not paved merely with eloquence, but with the intention. A kind of quiet, invisible compass that gives direction to every word and pause. Power of your voice does not come from how clever or charming your sentences are. It is born from the purpose that breathes through them. Most people speak in pursuit of approval. They say what pleases. They fear silence. They fill the space between hearts with words shaped not by conviction, but by the need to be liked. Yet there is another way, one far more rare, far more lasting. It is to speak not from hunger, but from fullness, not from the need to be seen, from the clarity of seeing. Imagine a dusty road stretching through a quiet valley. Along this road walks a traveler who seeks a well. Every passerby offers suggestions, directions, even songs, but none of them have ever touched the water they describe. Then comes a woman, silent and calm. She kneels beside the earth and begins to dig. "Why do you not offer me advice?" the traveler asks. She replies, "Because I know where the water is, and I have no need to be right, only to be useful. Later, when the well springs open, it is her quiet labor, not others' words, that quenches the traveler's thirst." Purpose speaks less, but it reaches farther. When you know why you speak, your words begin to carry a different weight. You no longer scatter your energy. You no longer seek approval like a leaf seeks the wind. You become rooted like a tree that speaks through the fragrance of its blossoms, not the noise of its branches. In daily life, this shift is subtle but powerful. Picture someone in conversation. They listen deeply. When they respond, their words feel carefully chosen, not cautious, but meaningful. You sense they are not trying to win favor, to offer truth. This is the difference between a message born of purpose and a statement born of performance. Consider the quiet dignity of the samurai. A warrior's sword is sharp not because it is always drawn, but because it is seldom needed. So too with speech. When words are used to serve a purpose higher than approval, to heal, to clarify, honor, they cut through confusion like a blade through silk. There is an old teaching by the poet philosopher Besh, who once said, "Do not follow in the footsteps of the old masters. Seek what they sought." This speaks to purpose. It is not enough to imitate the form of powerful speech. One must return to the fire from which it rose. That fire is purpose, and it can only be kindled in stillness. When you speak from purpose, others feel it, not as a performance, but as a presence. Your words linger, not because they are elaborate, but because they are necessary. They have a place, a direction, a home. In nature, you see this in the wind. A breeze that swirls without aim scatters leaves. A wind that moves with purpose carries seeds across entire landscapes. One creates noise. The other creates growth. So ask yourself gently, before I speak, do I pause to feel what truth moves within me? Do I speak to be embraced, or because there is something sacred I must release? When your answer comes from the deeper stillness within, then every word becomes a footprint of your truth. And footprints made in truth never wash away. From the quiet valley of purpose, we now walk to the final gateway of this inward path. One that speaks not to the world around you, but to the world they within. A truth as ancient as stone before others can respect your voice, your presence, your essence. You must first offer that respect to yourself. Self-respect is not pride. It is not ego. It is the unshakable recognition of your own worth, even when no one is watching. It is the discipline of staying true to your values in silence. The grace of honoring your own time, space, and energy without needing permission. It is the mountain that does not move for every gust of wind. In a small temple garden surrounded by pine, a young disciple once asked his teacher, "Why do others not value me? I give all I have. I speak kindly. I am always there for them. The teacher walked to a stone bench and placed a cracked bowl upon it. Would you drink from this? The student replied, no, it is broken. It cannot hold water. The teacher nodded. So too, the world will not drink from you if you do not hold yourself whole. The lesson is simply, if you do not recognize your own wholeness, your words will feel scattered, your boundaries will blur, and your presence will leak. Others sense this instinctively. They are drawn not to need, but to certainty, not to apology, but to quiet conviction. In life, consider a person who speaks softly. Start running through the park, yet with clear limits. They say no, not with anger, but with grace. They do not explain themselves excessively. They do not shrink. There is a strength in them that is not loud, but luminous. This is the glow of self-respect. Nature, too, teaches this wisdom. The tree does not bow for the approval of passing clouds. It grows in the direction of its own inner code, slow, rooted, reaching both downward and upward. Its fruits are not hurried. Its shade is offered without need. Its presence is respected because it respects its own process. To respect yourself means to speak truthfully, even when it is uncomfortable. Choose silence over noise when the world demands reaction. To walk away not with bitterness, with peace, because peace is the standard you have set within. There is an ancient line from the teachings of Bodhidharma: the one who knows himself is never moved. His mind, like a clear sky, holds no need for applause or defense. From this still sky of self-respect, your actions shift. You begin to speak less. Your words are felt more. You stop chasing connection, and connection finds you. You no longer ask for recognition. You carry it within. And when someone asks you, why do you walk alone? You smile and say, because I am never apart from myself. This is not isolation. This is union with your own spirit, your own peace, your own unwavering path. So pause once more in the gentle hush between these thoughts. Breathe into the space that holds your silence and ask yourself, do I speak with purpose? Do I rest in the dignity of my own self-respect? If so, then your voice will not merely be heard, it will be remembered, not for its volume, not for its brilliance, but for its truth. Let this be the final seed planted in the garden of your presence. You do not need to raise your voice to be powerful. You only need to return again and again to the quiet truth within. And when you speak from that sacred soil, the world listens, not with its ears, but with its heart. So, what is the sentence that 99.9% of men can't resist? It is not a line, it is a presence. It is a moment of truth where you speak from the deepest, calmest part of yourself, whether you say, I see you, or I choose peace, or even just smile in silence. Because the words that can't be resisted are the ones that are born in stillness, carried on breath, and offered without fear. This kind of presence touches something ancient in a man's spirit. It calls him out of chaos and into clarity, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. Let this be your power. Speak little, breathe deeply, be real, and you will say more in a single sentence than others do in 1,000. Pause now, breathe in. Ask yourself, when I speak, do I speak from noise or from knowing? Return to that knowing again and again. This is your real voice, is what no man can resist,